So First Chronicles 27, again, it's going to be another short one because it's a list. And this is kind of conducive of what Chronicles is all about, of putting these lists and organizations together. Realize there's great stories behind these. There's a lot here for us to learn. We don't know a ton about most of the people on these lists. There are some, if you look in 2 Samuel and 1 Kings in that area, you can learn some of these great stories that they just kind of skip over when putting these lists together. But there's a ton of people listed on these lists that we don't know a ton about. So there's a lot more records that have not been found in archaeology that hopefully we find that can help us out. So in this chapter, verse 1, now the children of Israel, after their number, to wit, the chief fathers and captains of thousands and hundreds, and their officers that served the king in any matter of the courses which came in and went out month by month, throughout all the months of the year, every course were 20 and 4,000. So what this is basically is saying these are the people that served in the palace. These are the people that did a lot of official things and were over different groups. They were rulers of small groups. They were in the military leaders. They were in all different groups here. So they go through a lot of these who are the different captains, who are the different, how they organized the rest of Israel, as well as those who served in the kingdom, basically at the level of helping out with the king. And it's interesting. Some are over the flocks. Some are the rulers of the substance of David. Jonathan, David's uncle, was a counselor to King David. He was a scribe. There were other counselors and people brought in. So it's just kind of interesting to go through these lists. Again, we're not going to spend a ton of time reading them. You can read them and go over them and look up some of these names. Some of them are in the Bible dictionary that you can look up and do more research on as well. It's good to have lists. You might be bored because it's like the last 4 or 5 chapters have been this. And on initial review, you might think, oh, lists are stupid. These are terrible. But they're actually very helpful and very valuable from a historical standpoint. We know more about structure and organization, who did what were jobs that they were appointed to do, what kind of things were happening. So when you start to read in between the lines and understand what does this imply, or what are the implications of this kind of a role being put into place, we start to understand a little bit more about what's going on with Israel. So take the time and look through some of these things and think of what do you come up with. In fact, what are the things you learn as you read between these lines and you start looking at the inferences that are made in these lists? I'd love to hear it in the comments section as you go through that. I'm not going to try to pull all of them out in these videos, but I want you to understand that and realize that there is a lot of value in these lists. They're not just some boring lists that get tossed to the side. They have a lot of value for research and for study, for helping us to better understand what was going on with these people at this time. So that's why they're a very valuable resource to have. So do not discount them, basically. So let's jump into the next chapter as we continue on.